So pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, certain COVID-19 protection measures were extended as they relate to MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20 of the Open Meeting Law. This meeting of the City of Westfield Conservation Commission we conducted via remote participation. Specific information can be found on the City of Westfield website, www.cityofwestfield.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so by tuning into Channel 15 or Channel 12, or online at westfieldtv.org, or online at youtube.com/Westfield Community Programming Channel. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we're unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the city's website an audio recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, call to order. Carl.
Here.
Jim.
Here.
Bob.
Here.
All right,
You had Tom or Bob?
No, Bob.
That was Tom. He said
Bob
Tom.
Clark.
I heard it clear as
I'm here. I'm here.
All right, Tom's here. Tom,
As is Tom.
Alex,
Here.
and Lauren.
Here.
All right, welcome to Anna, her first official meeting, and Karen as well, and Colleen. Thank you for joining us. All right, any member of the public who like to address the commission on any item not on the agenda? All righty, seeing none. Public meetings, RDAs. Item A is 240 Russellville Road, continued from 3/22/22. Again, installation of new septic system. I thought I saw Oscar someplace. Is
Hi,
Oscar-
I'm here. Yes. Hello.
Okay. You want to give us an update?
Hello, I am here. Yes, I'm ready for the meeting. How are
Yes.
you guys?
And Mike is here as his representative.
Okay, so we're waiting for responses from the contractor. Mike?
Yep,
The
he's
floor
here.
is yours.
No, I'm online right now. I sent my response in, I believe, prior to your last meeting.
Okay. So who'd like to speak to this on the commission? Karen?
Did you all get hard copies of, I guess a couple of commissioners had some questions and we had some, a written response.
Okay.
Had you all received that, I hope, and taken a look at it?
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Jim.
I'd like to ask Mike if I have the document that you wrote and the new plans. So thank you for that. And I wonder if you could start from the top and just walk us through the process and our initial questions.
Sure. You want me to go through the questions or the plan design?
Well, I happen to be looking at the questions. I don't know what the other commissioners are looking at, but the questions follow a path, and
Sure.
I guess it's up to you. I'll defer to you.
Yep. I'll give a general overview of the design, then I'll follow the questions. I think it may be a better path just to explain the process of what went behind the design for you.
Okay, very good. That's really what we're looking for, a deeper understanding of some complex geology over there.
Sure. So at this particular site, water is elevated. Everyone is aware of that. There is, from a previous filing, an isolated wetland off to the northwest side of the property, the rear of the property. So when we go there to test it, it's actually the physical constraints that we look for is wetland boundaries, offset to wells, and the drainage on Russellville Road, that comes into account, but that's third. So if you look at the drawing, the blue well arcs are one of the most important things on the drawing. Everything to the eastern side of those is the area that Title V allows us to test initially. Then we take the wetland boundary, and typically 50 feet or greater is allowable for Title V. You could get closer under Title V exemption. I believe I mailed that in to you folks as well. That does not exempt grading. It would exempt the septic system if the Board of Health gives approval, but it does not accept the grading. The grading still falls in the commission's review. So-
Excuse me for a moment.
Yep.
Karen or Colleen, do you have that plan?
I have one dated. The one I have is dated October 26, 2021. That's the latest I have a hard copy of.
Okay,
Was there something submitted after that to
Yeah,
address
there was some,
changes? Okay.
there was, in the bottom here, it'll say revised 321. I don't know if anyone can see that. Right above the title block. That's what I sent with the letter.
I
okay.
have that one. Hang on, I'm going to share that screen. Is that acceptable?
Yes, thank you.
That'd be
Sure.
great. So Mike, is the one I have, is that an old version then? I should ignore
That may
that.
be the original version.
Okay.
The only thing that changed on that, Karen, from what you see on the screen, and I apologize for my dog in the background, the mailman's coming, but the wetland offsets are the only thing that was added from the plan you have to this one on our screen. That's the only differences.
Excuse
When
me.
we walk
while
through-
Mike, while we're talking about the plans, by the way, this is Jim.
Yep.
You still have the plan dated 10/26, but if you've edited it, it needs to be revised and updated with the proper date.
It is.
And
Yep.
so I'm missing the date. Where is it?
If you look where it's engineering and land solutions, it's right there. It says revision 1.
321.
Yeah, 32122.
Okay.
And then it describes what the revision was.
Got it. It's above the okay, now I see where it is there. Okay, thank you.
Yep,
All right.
no problem. So when we come into the design, that was the only area that we could meet the well offsets on this property. So within Title V, under, I believe it's section 405, under maximum feasible compliance, they give provisions of what variances or local upgrades that we can ask for of the Board of Health. They give them in order of severity. The least that we're supposed to attempt is offset to wells. Wetlands comes first, property lines, all that is, we're supposed to ask for that prior than a well setback. So that's why we tested the areas that you see. Those circles with the quarters filled in with the lines. Just one's right near the D box in the system where it says DB. And then the other one is easterly about 20 feet. Those were the 2 test holes for the site. So what we did to try to minimize the impact of this system as well is when you see off to the note on the far left side, the third note up calls out 40 mil PVC breakout barrier. The reason that breakout barrier was introduced is that actually holds back the breakout grading. So we can tie into the grades. It lessens the footprint of the septic system, the impact of the septic system. That's why we did that. So we tried to minimize the impact of the area. The system as it's designed is rarely, I forgot the exact percentage, but it's barely over designed for the 4-bedroom. So it just meets design. There was no embellishments within the design. The benefits of this design is the current system sitting in the groundwater. It's a leach tank. So environmentally, this system is about 4 feet out of the ground. So it's much more protective of both the wetland and the associated groundwater system in the area. And it's in full compliance with Title V as you see it. I know in the commission's review, the system itself is 54 feet from the wetland edge, but the grading comes into an area that's approximately 40 feet to the wetland edge. But what I identified on the plan to help the commission with the review is the existing tree line. And if you see, in this case, because it was a disturbed property prior to this, there was wetland enforcement. Some of you may have been on the commission, I'm not sure.
Yes.
You'll see the tree line actually is about 10 feet in back of the wetland line that was identified back then.
Mhm.
So the area that we're physically sitting in is all field grasses. There's no cutting of mature vegetation throughout this upgrade or this repair, excuse me.
Thank you. Questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
to Mike, I was the one that asked the question about the backup field. If one existed, was it apparently in the feedback I saw, no records for one?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay,
There was none identified, and then in the 1978 Title V, it actually wasn't a requirement as it is now. And back code, even if one was identified, because I don't want to say some designers still identified areas that you could go to, although it wasn't a requirement. But back then you could be within 50 feet or just outside of 50 feet of a well arc. When Title V changed in 1996, 2006, 2016, those were revision dates. The 100 foot well arc.
thank you. So if another question, so if this field that you've designed failed, didn't do well, what are the options for the homeowner?
Unfortunately, this system is the only real place. You can see I identified a reserve area actually, it's in my field notes I don't have, because under a repair, we don't have to give a reserve area. But realistically, I would see it just southerly of where we put it, or Title V. We've been on tight properties like this before, and unfortunately, you dig out the old system and then you build it back up with fresh sand and you rebuild it, essentially.
Really? Would you go with a raised mound at that time, or
Yeah, this is a raised mound as well.
this one is? Okay,
Yeah, this system itself is about 4 feet out of the ground.
okay.
And Mike, why didn't you do that in this case? Why did you not use?
No, this is a raised system.
No. Why did you not use the existing area?
Because it falls within the 100-foot well arc. We're not allowed to. The original, if you look at the plan, there's a clouded area that I identify.
Yeah, actually, Colleen, the plan has disappeared from my screen. Is everyone else still seeing it?
No, can we have that?
No,
Could you reintroduce it?
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Okay, so if you look where the septic tanks are proposed, just to the southern side of the house, that curly line, that, it's kind of a curly rectangle there.
yep, got it.
The existing septic system is identified as being. So oftentimes when we repair a septic system, you're better off to leave the old system in place. You abandon and discontinue it, crutch the tank so it doesn't break down and anybody drive into it or fall over it. But that typically is the preferred policy to remain in place.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, your lime green dotted line that's very close to Russellville Road indicates that was the wetland boundary in 2015. Is that correct?
No, the one that you see right near Russellville Road,
Yeah.
that's the 100-foot buffer. And then the next one you see as you go towards the wetland, the western side of the property, that's the 50. And then the wetland itself is to the western side of the house.
On your bottom right-hand corner of the print under legend, the lime green line says edge of previous wetland 2015. Where is that?
That's, if you were to look to the back side of the house, you'll see the green line with all the numbers associated with 2, 3, 4. Yep, that one. And then the other ones, they're hard to see on this screen. They're actually slightly different color. Those were called out as offsets.
All right, so I'm sorry, Mike. So what is the bottom green? Real close to, yeah,
That's 100-foot buffer to the wetland.
I see. Did you take into account, there's a funky little like swimming hole size,
Yeah, the depression, the 6-inch
a depression, yes.
Yeah.
I might call that a resource area. Would you?
No, well, what I've learned, I actually called the surveyor that did work on this with Stan Tenerowitz. Stan Tenerowitz has passed away since. He mentioned that I guess this property was involved in enforcement with your commission years ago, and that depression area was actually introduced by Stan. He couldn't recall why, but I don't know if it was to buffer drainage, because there originally, on what I've seen for disturbance, there was on the southern side of the septic system in the wetland, I guess there was a road that came around, just from what I seen on aerials and such. But
Yep.
I guess that was what they had to replicate, and a big part of it, I guess he or she, whoever the was, cut down a bunch of trees within the resource. That was where the enforcement came.
Yep.
But I can't say why Stan introduced it. I didn't look at the minutes of that.
Yep.
So,
Mike, did you ever see a permit from the city of Westfield's Board of Health?
I believe it's issued. I haven't asked for it, but I know I spoke to Tom on it originally when we submitted it. And normally he'll call me if there's any issues, and he did it.
Yeah, it's just very, very small, probably unimportant, but on your notes on the left of your drawing, you refer to the community of Southwick Board of Health. If you wanted to clean that up, you probably should put Westfield.
Oh, for sure. I didn't even
Fourth one down.
fourth one. Property lines are based on. No.
Contractor to install.
I'll find it.
On the left, fourth one down on the left.
Oh, okay. Oh, Southwick Board of Health. Yeah, sorry.
Hey, Mike, bottom line, this is what you feel is the best solution in terms of the what we're concerned about in terms of the environment. Is that correct?
Yes, I really do, because the existing system being a tank to a leach pit. So if you could imagine a cylindrical, say a 6-foot circle, concrete circle, they're typically 2 to 4 feet in height. That's what they have there now. And we found groundwater at 25 inches. So what that tells me is the system is completely in the groundwater, the existing system of this house. So anything would be a great improvement, but this system in front of you meets the full parameters of Title V, sizing and offset.
Understood. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, any other questions from the commission? All right. Yes, Karen.
I'm sorry, I might be reiterating a few things because I wasn't here from the very beginning, Mike. So just clarification on the system itself. It's a leach field. Had you looked at and I don't even know if this is an option anymore, a tight tank or something that is enclosed and is routinely pumped? Is that an option?
Typically not in an instance like this. Tight tanks you normally use when there's no other option available. This system, as I mentioned, is in full compliance with Title V, even though we're within its edge is 54 feet from the septic. From the wetland edge. I provided the commission, I believe it was 98. They came out with the 96 or 98. They came out with a clarification under the Wetland Protection Act about septic systems. And the presumption under the act is as long as it meets Title V and gets Board of Health approval, it is presumed to be protective of the Wetland Protection Act. That's what I was starting to say in the beginning. The only thing that presumption doesn't cover is grading. So that's why I pointed it out to the commission. The final edge of our grading will be about 40 feet. It's 42 feet or 41 and change from the wetland edge as it was identified. But the area that we're sitting in is all field grasses currently. So no mature vegetation is being cut down, and we would restore it to the field grass or on that it is.
So a follow-up on the proximity to that wetland that Stan had been involved in, and it was an enforcement. I don't remember the specifics, but it was created in compliance with what was required under the enforcement at that time.
Yep.
If the commission remembers, there was a road built on the left side and it altered the hydrology in the area, so they had to remove it and do some restoration. But on the west corner, am I not seeing it encroaching, the grading encroaching into that wetland? Am I?
No, on the west side,
So on the leach field itself, on the grading, yeah, on
Yep.
the top corner, yeah, isn't that going inside that circle of wetland? Yeah, right there.
well, that depression area isn't called out as a wetland. And when
Why not?
just because even in Stan's work, it wasn't even identified as replication area. It was
So-
just called out as a 6-inch depression.
I'm
That's-
not sure about that. I mean,
Paul
I
Smith.
think we'd like to look at the file for that. I mean, just to refresh my memory, I thought it was required as part of the enforcement. So we would just need to clarify that point.
Sure. It may have been part of the grading plan because I know that was identified in the grading. And then I found the swale to the front of the property. That's why I gave the commission the roadway shots along the road to show that it does capture the drainage as, the head wall with the rock
Yeah.
riprap that we called out. That was part of the enforcement. Beyond that, because I think I did I'd have to look, but I think I did get the RDA or whatever Stan had, but I didn't see anything about wetland replication in that 6-inch area. I just seen
It
it
was
as
quite involved. It was
Yeah.
quite involved from what I remember. And there was also the creation of the channel in the front of the property. So
Mhm.
I'm not, that's not called out as a wetland either.
Nope, that's drainage, and there was definitely nothing that we observed most of it was stone lined or just riprap portions.
Well, it's been mowed. They were supposed to leave the vegetation, so that could be an issue in of itself, because I remember that piece.
Mhm.
So again, I would like to look at the enforcement and get a chance to really get a feel for what areas were required on the enforcement before we allow them to be encroached on.
Uh,
Aaron,
Karen,
it would also give us an idea of where to go from here as far as what we want to try to protect now, after this system is put in.
Right, right. If you're talking
Um,
4 feet, that's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Could,
Where do,
Karen,
again,
could
I
that
have
have
a
been a
quick-
detention or retention basin?
I don't think so. It could
Okay.
have been because there was a lot of water in the area. We were trying to accommodate for it.
Mhm.
But I
Alright.
think just another look at the file would be
Okay,
prudent.
sure.
I just have a quick question. Again, I didn't hear, what point did you hit groundwater at?
In our hole, it was anywhere, I believe, from 26 to 32 inches. So it's the legal definition, wetland.
And then you need to
hydrology
raise
within
it
18.
4 feet from there, correct?
Yes. Yep. That's why the top of the system itself will be just shy of 5 feet out of the ground.
Okay. And then how about the grading? Because we're looking at the wetland area.
Yep. Well, the bold lines of the grading are where the tie-ins are, if you would. So,
And that won't change?
well, that 6-inch depression area,
Yeah,
if you our elevation 79, which is the rim of that, we're taking, just guessing on my screen, maybe 1/10 of it. So we could always add to the backside of this drainage area. The other way to look at this is within Title V, Oscar has the right to fix his septic system. The commission has the right to review it. The obvious, but there's, when we go back and forth on placement, let's say if we can place it more southerly, now we start getting into well setbacks and the Board of Health wouldn't approve that. And then we fall under the presumption of Title V accepted from the Wetland Protection Act. So it's trying to find a happy medium for this site. And we thought this placement is, and I'm more than happy to review it with Karen or whoever wants to, review it or review the file.
Mhm.
But in the event that 6-inch depressional area, it's obvious this is a disturbed site. When we're out there, there's vegetation all mixed within this field. But when we do those observation holes, it clearly demonstrates they're not hydric. They're close, the definition of a hydric soil is hydrology within 18 inches or closer to the surface. We're at 25. So, but it does not meet the criteria of a wetland. The area we were in. We don't doubt groundwater's high. That's why if you look to the neighbor to the southern side, as well as the southeastern side, both their systems are 3-4 feet out of the ground as well. That whole area must be very wet.
All right,
Oh, yeah.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
No, I'm looking at this, I'm listening to Mike, who's, doing a good job balancing the factors here and having trouble rectifying another extension of this hearing. I don't know what the 6-inch depression was for, and I know some of you may have a better sense of that. The suggestion to perhaps round it to the back, the southwest corner, just to offset any fill on that eastern corner of it seems reasonable to me. I don't see any other practical outcome to this, septic situation. And so that's where I just start to get to, why are we going to talk about this again in 2 weeks? You know what I mean? If there's a tweak here, like enhancing the depression a little bit further away to satisfy what could be part of the enforcement, then, I think that's a reasonable request. But, the septic's really not going to move. It's going to be in a better situation. And then some of the nuance of where it goes is, yes, there's wetland here and we have jurisdiction, but it's kind of Board of Health matter too. So I'm pretty comfortable at this point, and I just want that opinion out there.
Okay.
I have a question for Alex.
Yes.
Are you suggesting that on the west side of the wetland area, it be made larger? So essentially have that become a bit of a restoration?
Not the wetland, Jim, the depression.
The 6-inch depression, not the, got you, okay.
Yeah. Just because Karen had concern that was part of the enforcement and we'd want to preserve any volume that was established there for drainage reasons or, anything like that. So
Okay,
kind of as the, rather than go through all the research and all this to come up with a is it or isn't it, if they can take an extra bucket on the west corner of that and call it a day.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty simple solution to me.
so basically that just a little bit more for a detention area which is
For-
going to theoretically
whatever-
perk into the ground anyways.
Right. Whatever purpose it's serving, it would then be preserved as is, if you will, and then the septic could go forward.
Yeah.
I just have one quick question. Is there vegetation in that 6-inch depression?
There's vegetation all over that property. I seen sedge and just, you could tell it was a disturbed site in the seed bank. That's the problem with the disturbed sites. The seed bank gets mixed over all the area. But that's why I was saying where we dug, it definitely wasn't hydric. I mean, we can auger a hole right next to it or in it, but if we hold where we are, we have water, let's say at 26 to 32 inches with those holes. So if we take 6 inches away, now we're at 19. So it may have been just a depressional area to catch seasonal water. I think, we, on the flip side of it, because then it's an isolated feature, but then it's man-made, it's created, and then we could fall back onto the Title V exemption again with that. So that's almost urge, I mean, during construction, we can even duplicate, let's say where that little area that we're taking is, whatever, 80 square feet. Maybe we could come and then give 200 square feet on the western side because the machine will be there. And to take 6 inches or even 8 inches, if the commission wanted to try to tie in seasonal groundwater, we can. I would suggest that we do it to the southern or the western backside, just in the event anything else happens or we create something by doing it. If he ever has to repair this property, it's not encumbering more on the system. If that's acceptable.
So you're saying extend this 6-inch depression westerly? Is that what you're saying in?
Yeah, I think if anything, it'd be better served almost westerly or southerly. And I can't speak for Stan. I don't know the issue, with the replication. He did it for something. When I spoke to Paul, he thought it was associated with all the water movement problems that they had, like the front culvert and the channel and all that. But I can't speak for sure why it was there. If it was meant to temporarily detain water. But what I'm offering is if we were to take, just for argument's sake, say it's 100 square feet, the contractor's out there, we can instruct him to take 200 square feet from the backside. And then the commission gains 2 times the volume that we're losing for whatever function it was there for.
If I may, I think even since the enforcement was complied with, that the area has been altered, vegetation has been cut, removed. It's hard to know what's there now in relation to what was supposed to be there before. And I apologize, I'm coming in a little late, into this discussion going, well, let's back up a minute. Only because I'm not 100% sure what was required under the enforcement. I know we did quite a bit. There was plantings. I would just recommend that we just ensure that the enforcement had been complied with, or let's say it had not been reviolated, I guess, post compliance.
I would concur with Karen. I'd like to know exactly what was on the final statement as far as the enforcement is concerned. I mean, that depression is completely within the 50-foot of the wetland. And if you start digging it to the west, now it's going to be even closer to the wetland.
But it's all, or excuse me, sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
Yes. So I think we need to know exactly what's supposed to be there before we, alter it by, a couple hundred square feet. But that's just my opinion. So.
If you look on the drawing, the darker green were what I pulled off the plan as plantings, those bushes. Yep, those over there. Those were on the plan. So I put them on there. The tree line, I don't know, the tree line matched up pretty close what Paul had for a survey. So I think that was the original disturbance. I can't speak for the field, but the mature trees, that is the definite line that we observed. So, I mean, I'm happy to do whatever the commission would like out there. But I don't think there's any other option for this system, whether we move it, 5 feet forward, 5 feet left. It's with the well arcs, we literally only have 8 feet one direction and probably 8 or 10 the other. Yeah. So, and I'm not diminishing what the commission is. It's a very tough property. I know we located those bounds because those bounds were, there must have been some agreement that the house couldn't be built anywhere beyond those because it did say construction limits. But as far as, Title V goes, this is probably the most efficient fix for this property, most environmentally safe fix.
Well, I remember the enforcement as far as going out there, because the neighbor to the south complained of water getting into his basement because of the road that was built.
Mhm.
So we haven't heard anything from him. So hopefully, the enforcement actually fixed and solved that problem. So I think to be on the safe side, we need to check the final document as far as the enforcement is concerned and see what the actual function of that depression is supposed to be before we start altering it.
I would concur with that as well.
So, we can go out and take another look now that we have your modified plan.
Yeah, I'm open to whatever the commission sees fit. Move the
All right,
project.
thank you.
So.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
No, Mr. Chairman, I do want to thank Mike and the applicant for their patience in dealing with this, and Mike, thank you. You've really explained a lot and provided some alternatives. On behalf of the homeowner, I want to get this done quick on his behalf, but we need to honor the past on what was done on this property.
Okay, any comments or questions from the audience concerning this particular project?
I'll sponsor a motion that we continue this subject until our next meeting on April the 26th.
All right, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So all in favor, Tom,
I'll vote yes.
Jim,
Yeah.
Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Alex?
I disagree, but that's fine.
Okay. Lauren?
Yes.
Okay, I'll vote yes as well. So Karen or Colleen, we can arrange another visit out there.
Yes,
and,
definitely.
We'll take the plans out with us and look at it carefully. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Right, item B, 153 Russell Road, installation of 32-foot by 192-foot pole barn, continued from 3/22/22. So we received, or the office received a new plan yesterday, I think. Colleen, do you have that to
Was
post?
yesterday. I forgot. Did you guys, Bob, did you get, Mr. Hinckley, did you get my email asking if you could take a photo of the plan and send it to me?
No,
No?
I dropped the plan off yesterday
Yeah.
morning.
Yep. I forgot to download it onto my home computer. It's on the one at work, but I
Oh,
forgot to
okay.
download it onto the one at home here.
Well, from my recollection of looking at the plan, it did show the pole barn. It showed the location of the.
Thank you, Anna.
I see
great.
something.
That's the paper copy. Okay.
If you guys pen that, you can see it.
That's all I
pretty well.
got.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on.
And so I remember there was some estimates of comp storage, and there were some alternatives on where to put the comp storage depressions. I think one was closer to the river, and another one was making two channels on either side of the barn. Is that correct, Mr. Hinckley?
Yes,
Okay.
and we just use it up the top of the hill around the house to grade up and plant more lawn. So we'd use it right on site, but up out of the floodplain.
Oh, the dirt that you dig out.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. So it looks like for the commission, we've got, a decision to make. Where do you want the comp storage to be? Closer to the river, or the whole field seems to be at the same level. So, or as he proposed, digging some ditches or trenches on either side of the barn that that act as the comp storage. I mean, which would you rather do, Mr. Hinckley?
It really doesn't matter, whatever, wherever we gotta take it out of, we'll take it and spread it.
Okay. Karen, did you look at the plan?
I've got the hard copy. I'll just kind of put it in front here. I mean,
Okay.
it just shows basically, I don't know if you can see that. Here we go. The structure and the poles being proposed.
Okay,
And then the narrative discusses the comp storage. So it doesn't show location of the comp storage nor elevations on the plan. So I'm not
Okay.
sure how detailed you want to get as far as, you know, definitively identifying location.
Mhm.
I have a suggestion. When you go down to the proposed building location, you go down a partially paved driveway at
Correct.
I don't know, maybe 20-degree pitch, whatever it is. One of the proposed areas on the site visit was on either side of that driveway where it drops off. That would keep the work area out of closer to the riverfront area.
Mhm.
But, and I guess it's up to you folks too, as long as we know it's measurable and we know that it was done, you know?
Yep. No, that would work too, along the sides of that drive down.
It does need to be located on a plan, you know, to actually show the location. So we have something that can be taken a look at, you know, for completion. But,
I mean, he could draw it on the plan in the office.
That's
The
fine.
initial idea was to go around the house with the topsoil and just to grade it so the water doesn't come to the house. That was our original plan.
Okay,
I can try to pull up the comp storage map if you'd like. If I
Please.
can get it here. Can y'all see this? I don't even know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm on like 3 different computers. I got logged out of one, now I'm in the other. Okay.
Can you enlarge it, Anna?
That is what I'm gonna get to. I can actually pull it up. I have too many screens. Stop. Go away. Oh boy. Also doesn't help that this screen here is vertical, which is my bad. Here, we can either all rotate our heads. My screen that I'm using is vertical. Actually, I might be able to, let's do this. Hold on. We're going to change which screen I'm sharing. That's the answer. How do I work Zoom? That's the question. No, I'm just kidding. Share screen. This screen. Share. Get rid of y'all. And then this. And then. We're troubleshooting. There we go. That's probably as big as I'm going to be able to get it.
All right, thank you.
On the computer.
Modern technology. Okay. I think that's as far as I can get it.
Good.
Oh, it's good.
All right, so he's got a calculation of how many cubic yards,
Yeah, it's roughly 14 yards.
14, okay. Well, I mean, where would you rather dig the trenches? Along the base of the hill or out in the field?
We'd probably go right along the side, both sides of the barn.
On the barn, okay.
Yeah.
And you'd be able to keep those clear so that, you know, that they don't get filled in with dirt?
The trenches,
Yeah,
we would just, after that's gone, we'd probably just grade whatever left towards the barn. we can leave them open. That's no big deal either.
Well, they have to remain as trenches, and that's the purpose
Okay,
of the comp storage, yes.
Yes, exactly. We would remove the 6 inches of material, the 2 feet wide by 6 inches of material. And then, because we would remove the topsoil first, pull out the subsoil, and then in that trench that we had, we would push the topsoil back just to make it, a clean slate. But that 6 inches of 2 foot material along both sides of the shed, we would remove from the floodplain and put outside of the out of the 100-year floodplain.
Okay,
And our thoughts were, because we were having water issues in the basement of the house at the top of the hill, we were going to grade, around the house to keep the water away from there.
okay. But that, as you said, that's out of the floodplain.
yes.
Okay, thank you. I mean, how does that, how does the commission think about, doing the trenches along either side of the proposed barn?
That's fine. I mean, as long as it gets done and we can measure it when it's completed and it's kept that way.
Okay.
All right, any other comments from the commission then? Anna, Karen, any comments?
Just my conditions, you
Right.
want to document the location of it, I guess,
Sure.
that's all.
Okay,
And it should obviously be at the same elevation as it's being filled. I'm not sure that that's the case. Is that the case here?
which
Same
elevation now?
What's being filled.
So wherever they're whatever they're compensating for is being at the same elevation as the fill. It's a 1-to-1.
What do you mean?
So if the ground level is 100 and it floods 2 feet and you're putting posts in, you just have to compensate for that 2 feet, but it has to be between 100 and 102 that you're compensating for, right?
Correct.
So I'm just confirming that that's the case here.
It's in the same location as the barn. It's flat there.
Yeah, but if you're creating trenches, it's essentially below the area that you're filling. And I know that the thought of is the trench will fill in first, but it's certainly I'm fine with it, but the regulations say it's at the same elevation. But I think this will work for them. I mean, I don't see a problem.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Am I coming across?
So, I mean,
Is
it
that,
seems like you're suggesting they go to some place that's 102 and dig it down to 100?
Right. It would have to be wherever they're filling, whatever elevation they're filling in, that's the elevation they got to compensate for. So digging a trench it's okay,
So,
it's
yes,
doable, but it doesn't
we
meet
can
the
go-
regulations.
we can
Brings
go
down
to
the
a higher-
elevation.
Sorry, go ahead.
You're talking to me.
Yeah.
So if you want us to go to a higher elevation, we can, but that would move us closer to the river, because where exactly where the shed is located, the closer we go to the river, the elevation actually increases as we move towards the river.
Right.
And I would think that would not be ideal situation,
Right.
but I mean, that's up to you guys.
And I don't know the property. The commission's probably been there, so I'm
Yeah,
just
the other commission's been
my
there.
It's pretty level
2 cents. Yeah.
across. It's within a foot of everywhere. But it goes from 150 to 152, 153. It depends on where you are in a property. So our best bet is to make that trench on the sides of the barn. It'll collect the water off the barn, and we can move it up by the house and use it there.
All right, what's the other, and the commission think about, Karen's concern?
because it's so flat there. And by the way, how much compensatory storage is it, cubic feet? Robert?
It's 14 yards.
14 yards.
13.9.
375.
Yards.
Oh,
375.25. Cubic
Uh,
feet, 375.25.
Okay. And you run this along the length of the shed.
Yep, the
Correct.
192.
So the shed is what, like 190 feet long? What is it? How much is
it's
that?
192. and it's
192.
Two
Yeah.
feet wide and,
Yeah, okay. So I think, I think it, from my perspective, be fine, Karen. I think it'd be fine based on where it's located and what they're doing. And the way the depth of that trench is essentially going to be spread out also. There's enough real estate to do it right near there.
What it's going to end up being is a 4 foot wide trench that's 3 inches deep, the length of the shed on both sides will more
Basically a very shallow swale in essence.
Correct.
Yeah.
So is it a swale or is it a trench?
Well, you're a trench, but
shallow trench.
Okay. All right. That sounds better.
Trench, yes, Bob. Yeah. Trench. I'm fine with it personally.
Okay. Other commissioners?
I would just point out,
Go ahead, Tom.
I would point out that in Karen's recommendations, number 3 is asking for an environmental consultant engineer stamp. It seems like so far we're and I'm totally on board with trusting the farm family. I'm wondering if we need to strike that based on the conversations we've had. Do we want a stamp? Do we want a stamped drawing on this?
This drawing is stamped, Tom.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Really? By whom? By whom?
Yeah.
By
I
whom?
don't have the name.
Brian Denham.
Okay, then I don't have an issue at all.
Well,
I
what
think we're on
if I may, I'm sorry, Tom, that condition would be post-construction, that they would submit a plan, again, stamped, just showing the location of the comp storage. That's all that is. So that's an additional plan. That's all. Showing
Understood.
after. Go ahead.
Yep, I understand. I understand. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you. Thank you. So it seems that there's a consensus that the trenches along either sides of the barn are acceptable to the commission.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, at least from this end. Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Any comments from the audience concerning this particular project? Or any further discussion from the commission? All right, entertain a motion then to close the public meeting.
So moved.
Have a second.
I'll second it.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. All right, so we have a motion on the application.
If I may, I just recommend nixing 3 and 4 and keeping 1 and 2.
So you don't want the post-construction plan?
Well, I think it sounds like you guys are comfortable with trusting them and just creating it. I mean, you certainly can keep it in there if you want.
I think it's not a bad idea to have something that just sort of nails down at the end that in fact what we'd agreed upon had been done.
Yeah, I would concur with Carl, Karen, also in particular the deed.
Okay, so who'd like to make the motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we go with -3 for the work with the following conditions. One, post-construction, there be no increase to any elevations within the bordering land subject to flooding. 2, post-construction, the compensatory storage area shall be maintained in perpetuity. Note 3, post-construction applicant shall submit to the commission for approval stamped plan prepared by an environmental consultant or engineer that shows location of the compensatory storage and foot-by-foot incremental elevations. And note 4, post-construction plans shall be recorded on the deed and a copy shall be furnished to the commission. Also, positive 5, regarding the ordinance, no notice of intent required.
All right, do we have a second?
If I may, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to just withdraw a few of the words. So
Okay.
on number 3, if you have shows location of compensatory storage and foot by foot incremental elevations, you're kind of you're allowing them to not comply with that fully. So then that's fine, but I would just nix out in foot by foot incremental elevations because you're looking for location rather than the elevation. Is that clear?
Yeah, I'll take the recommendation then and modify my motion to remove storage in foot by foot incremental elevation.
Okay, got it.
We'll put the period at the end after
Period.
storage.
Period.
Compensatory storage, gotcha.
Right. Thank
Yep.
you. All right,
I'll second that.
all right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Tom,
I'll vote yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Alex.
Yeah.
And I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. Okay, good luck. Okay, item C, 291 East Main Street. Friendly's Restaurant repaving existing parking lot and construction of a hardscape patio. Can continue from 3/22/22. All right, do we have a representative from the applicant? Ryan, are you in this job?
Hello, everyone. Yes, Ryan Nelson from Arlevec Associates. I wasn't contacted by the applicant to be here tonight, but I can speak to the project. They have engaged us to do a pre-construction survey, a pre-existing topographic survey. So our plan is to go out and do that before repaving is done, but I'm not sure where you guys stand in permitting. I haven't been in the loop
Okay.
for this.
Is there anyone here representing the applicant?
I saw Mike at the beginning, but now I don't see him on here. His last name's Mike Swilling.
Okay.
I have the plans you asked for, but I don't know what to say about the project, so.
And there was a concern about fencing around the hardscape. And I'm not sure how they've solved that.
So Jim
we
had
wait?
asked about the steel bollards or the removable
Right.
thing. So here, hang on, I'm gonna share my screen for a second. Oops, yeah. So this is what they propose to put there to make the fence removable.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I don't say about the project. I'm surprised that Mike is not here. I fully expected him to be here, so.
Okay.
When did he drop off the call? Just a few minutes ago, or?
I didn't notice. I wasn't paying attention to who was on the calls.
Do you want to just jump out of order, Mr. Chair, and see if he comes back, or?
Is what Levesque has been hired to do on this job, would we benefit by seeing that first? If I understood Ryan, he's going to do a pre-construction evaluation. Is that what he said?
I don't want to speak for him, but he conveyed to me that the last meeting the commission would like to see a topographic existing conditions plan prior to paving. So
Maybe we should, yeah, maybe we should continue until that's completed.
It's, that's probably a good suggestion.
I'm getting told now by Mike that he is muted and he can't seem to unmute himself. I don't know if someone has the ability
Is he the phone number?
to.
Because there's a phone number that joined in the call.
Might be.
Yeah, I
Mike,
think that he's the
if
phone
you're
number.
calling in by phone, try, I believe it's 6 and then star or *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, thanks.
There we go.
There you are.
There we go.
I am unmuted. I was screaming at the top of my lungs and didn't work. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm actually traveling, so I was on the road, so I couldn't use the Zoom app. I had to call in. So I've heard everything you guys have been saying so far. So yes, obviously we've retained Ryan to do our pre-construction site survey, so we know the elevations and volume of the existing parking lot. Last meeting, we were talking about doing removable fencing, but in speaking with operations, that just operationally just isn't going to work with us whenever a flood warning comes in to have the the young people out there and removing that fencing. So we've decided to go with the sleeve system removable bollards instead, every 4 feet to keep the cars out of the hardscape patio.
All right. Well, thank you.
So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. As I said, Ryan had told me it would be about 1 to 2 weeks before we had that site survey
Okay.
done.
All right. So while he's working on that, you can modify your application to switch to the bollards.
Okay. Yes.
So that they will be on the plan that you submit from Ryan.
Water going?
Yes. Ryan, would they? Because if it would be a pre-construction.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
What would I put the bollards on as far as the drawing goes? If you're doing a pre-construction survey, what can I submit to the commission other than my design intent that would show the bollards?
Yeah, we can add that to the plan, showing the locations.
Excellent.
Great. Thank you, Ryan.
Yep.
Okay. So it seems like we need to continue this one if there are no other comments from the commission or questions from the commission.
No, Mr. Chairman, just to go back to Mike's question. Yeah, so Ryan would show them on the print, but regarding the schematic graphic information that was just shown on the screen, that would be attached to your plan. So we know what it is.
Right, but which set of plans? I wasn't aware that I needed anything further than the pre and post surveys.
If you're going to remove these as part of a process, and when a flood is declared, then you basically need to know what you're removing. You basically need an agreement on that. No different than if we in the buildings that are right immediate to you, CVS being one, they have flood-proof doors that they have to put on. Home Depot has flood-proof doors. Others do also. So there's a process and basically a work agreement. So in your case, if I understand, in a flood event, you'd be removing the bollards, right? Storing them somewhere. So that would have to be put on the plan as a note or something that we have as information.
Okay, so you more or less need a procedure for in the event of a flood, what the team is supposed to do.
That's correct. Yes, you're correct. So we have nothing floating, moving around. I don't know if you're going to have bollards with droop chains or, which I've happened to have seen in the past, whatever it is, yeah, that's got to be on the source document.
Okay. Does that matter
Yes.
if I'm located in the flood zone, but not necessarily the floodway?
I don't know. Of course, the floodway can jump, as I understand, based on the velocity and the amount of water. The floodway, Ryan, if you correct me if needed, I believe that the floodway is really more behind Starbucks.
Yes, so the friendly site is located in the floodplain and not the floodway.
Okay, yeah. But Mike, although it's not in the floodway in a breach of the riverbank, flood water will be there and moving and will have picked up other debris. So we don't want your bollards and whatever it may be to kind of catch them. So either way, they've got to be taken out and put somewhere.
Oh yeah, of course. Of course.
All right, so just
All right, so
put on your prints on your plans so we have a source document.
Understood.
All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yes. Okay. Any comments from the audience concerning this project? All right, then entertain a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to continue
to April 26th.
To April 26th, and that's 291 East Main Street, Friendly's Restaurants.
Maybe have a second.
Second that motion.
All right, all in favor. Carl?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Lauren?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Thank you. All right, item D, 1618 East Mountain Road. Removal of bittersweet vines and removal of 3 tree stumps. Do we have a okay, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for hearing me tonight.
Now, please state your name for the record.
It's Donna Brown, and my husband's name is William Brown. We
Thank
live
you.
at 1618 East Mountain Road.
All right, thank you. So you want to remove some bittersweet vines and 3 tree stumps. Okay, Karen, Karen, you've been out to this site?
Yeah, Donna and I met out there to look at the location where she wants to do some invasive removal. So we're real supportive of that. At first, we talked about removal, actually extracting it from the soil. So then I said, well, it's very, very close to the wetland. Let me talk to your tree guy and see what we can come up with. And I think the consensus now is just a basic brush hogging of the brambles, the bittersweet in the area. So I think it's very doable with no erosion controls. I don't see any problem with it. Now you mentioned some tree stumps. I forgot. Are you taking them out of the soil? Are you cutting them to ground or?
What has happened is, we've lived here for 20 years, and in the course of those 20 years, we've had several big storms that have taken down trees. And so there are 2 stumps right by my driveway that are holding up all of this bittersweet branches. The trees are dead. They're in half and they're collapsed. So I would like to remove those 2 tree stumps that hold up the bittersweet so that I can have a better vision, pulling in and pulling out of my driveway. East Mountain Road, as you know, is a very busy road, and I'm right on that curve. So I would just feel better if I had, a better field of vision. And that's really what this is all about. And I mentioned 20-foot strip along my driveway, but that was because I wasn't sure of the size of the piece of equipment my tree guy was going to bring in. I don't think it's going to be 20 feet. I think it's going to be, more like 10 feet just along my driveway. Take it down so that I have a field of vision.
Can I share my screen?
Yes, go ahead.
This is her property. The wetland driveway.
Right. And you can see the small strip that I'm talking about right along the curve of my driveway. That's where everything has sort of collapsed, and you know, we had to push some of the tree trunks back in there because they fell into the driveway. I don't know if I'm sure you do remember, we had those terrible windstorms a few years back now, and that's when everything started, you know, collapsing in the area when we were here. When we first built, you know, 20 years ago, it didn't look like it looks now. You know, I know everything changes, but what's happened is it creates like a green curtain. So when I'm pulling in and out of my driveway, I'm really, you know, and especially as the older I get, I'm getting a little afraid of, you know, pulling in and pulling out. And then I want to be able to see what I'm right next to, you know. It's that cluttered with the bittersweet branches are killing everything and bringing it down.
Karen, question.
Do I think, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sure. We haven't received an RDA for this, have we?
Yes.
We did. And when did we receive it?
Yeah, we opened this last time, and because I had questions on the scope of the project, I wasn't quite sure if they were going to be digging in the soil.
Okay.
But I think just taking out those 2 tree stumps is far enough away from the wetland that the brush hogging that will go on behind it will act as a buffer. I mean, I don't think we really even need erosion controls if they're really just brush hogging and plucking a few stumps out of there.
Yeah, that's basically it.
Is there more that needs to be done on this? You mentioned, you know, talking to a consultant. Is that necessary?
Are you talking to me?
To Karen right at the moment. Thank you.
Okay.
She had someone who gave her a proposal, and I questioned what was on the proposal. So him and I chatted, and we kind of fine-tuned exactly what they wanted to do. And I do have a recommendation for their request. That's not on the agenda.
Okay. I mean, do we have enough information to close this tonight? Do we need to continue?
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I think it's just a simple, like I said, brush hog and 2 stump removals. It's far enough away from the wetland. It's very, very thickly vegetated. So I don't see any problems to allowing it. I would recommend a -3 and a +5. If you had any conditions at all, I couldn't think of any.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. So any
I had a-
questions?
I had a quick question.
Yes, Carl.
So those tree stumps, are they going to be dug out, or are they just going to be leveled at the surface level?
Yeah, they're just going to be leveled.
Okay.
Just so that they, you know, because what they do is they provide the framework for the, you know, this thing to, when it fills in the summer, as it's starting to do, you just can't see a thing out, you know, out from the driveway. So if we just, and as I said, they've been dead for a long time, and they're half down. So I just want to level it and put it down so that, you know, I can maintain a field of vision for my driveway. That's basically it.
All right. Any other questions? Any questions from the audience concerning this project? All right. Seeing none, entertain a motion to close the public meeting.
So moved.
Have a second.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor. Carl?
Yes.
Jim?
Yep.
Bob?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. All right. Do we have a motion on the application?
So I would recommend a -3 with any conditions you have. I couldn't think of any, and a +5 with no notice of intent required.
Right. Somebody would like to make that motion?
Yep, I'll make a motion, -3, +5, 1618 East Mountain Road.
Okay. Positive 5 with no notice of intent required.
Okay.
All right.
Gotcha.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Carl,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Jim,
Yep.
Lauren,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and Alex.
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you very much, and particularly Karen and Colleen and the whole commission. Thank you. You've been very helpful.
Yeah,
Thanks,
they're
Donna.
great. Thank you,
Thank
Donna.
you.
Take care.
Thank you. You too.
All right, Item 4, public hearings. 149 Neck Road. In accordance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, public hearing will be held at 6:30 PM on Tuesday, April 12, 2022, via Zoom, recording a notice of intent submitted by Brian Forret and the Westfield Department of Public Works for the construction of a new administration building and expansion of existing facilities at 149 Neck Road in Westfield. Okay, Mr. Forret.
Good evening. Arthur Allen is here representing the project.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Allen.
Yes, hi. Arthur Allen, wetland scientist from Ecotech Incorporated, project representative. With me on the call tonight, I believe, are the project's engineers from Woodard and Curran, Lauren Frank and Alicia Mayer. There also may be some folks here from the town too. I'm not quite sure, but basically I'll be leading off and describing the project. If I can share my screen, I will do that. I have the site plan up that was filed as part of the notice of intent in front of you. We also have a DEP file number. We have comments on the file number, and I've provided a response to those comments, I believe just yesterday, so I can also go over those in turn, not tonight. But I'll start with the site plan. Basically, this is the existing, an expansion of the existing wastewater treatment plant on 149 Neck Road. It's in a bend of the Westfield River. It's an area directly adjacent to the existing facility. Here down in this corner, you can see some of the excuse the cat. You can see some of the buildings for the existing facility. This is the access road here coming down into the existing plant. So this would be just off the existing fenced enclosure. Proposed is the new administration building. The entire site is within the 100-year floodplain, a bordering land subject to flooding. There's no areas in the vicinity of the plant that are outside of the flood zone. There's a bordering vegetated wetland just above the proposed building site, and that was delineated by Ecotech. Within that bordering vegetated wetland, on the USGS map, there's actually a mapped perennial stream. This was the subject of some discussion with the commission informally last year. We actually had an informal site walk on January 5th of this year with 2 members of the commission, and we reviewed the area just so they could be familiar with it before we prepared the notice of intent. Essentially, and as documented in my project narrative, there's essentially no stream present. There's no channel, no evidence of a stream that's ever flown through there. There is a culvert right here under the existing access road. What this appears to be, this feature, it's a linear depression that appears to be a floodway feature. Basically, just when the area floods periodically, this would be a relief area where the floodwaters would move through. But there's no defined stream in that area. And again, the 2 commissioners saw that on our site walk. And we've also provided, as required in the Wetlands Protection Act regulations, we've provided 4 days of documentation, photos, and a locus map that were attached to the notice of intent narrative, showing that there's no flow in that area. So again, we feel that this project is just within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. You can see the 50-foot buffer zone here, the 100-foot buffer zone here, the proposed building site going through. We've minimized the footprint of work on the building with erosion control barriers. The building is proposed to be elevated on pilings, so the structure will be elevated above the 100-year flood zone. I'll put up a quick elevation drawing that was submitted just yesterday in response to some of DEP's comments, just to show elevations and profiles. You can see the structure elevated up here on concrete pilings, the 100-year flood elevation here at 133 feet. So again, the building will be raised and elevated. Back to the site plan, we're proposing stormwater management in the form of an infiltration basin. So sheet flow from the building, the parking area will sheet flow down into the basin that's been designed by the engineers and be treated before infiltrating to the ground. The entire site will be finished, graded, loamed and seeded and stabilized prior to the end of construction. Again, as I noted, we received DEP comments on April 6th. I provided a response to the commission at the DEP dated April 11th. Their first comment was in regards to the fact that the electronic notice of intent was not signed by the applicant. I've provided signed signature page 7 of 7 with the applicant's signature and with my signature on it. Their second comment was that they didn't see the dry stream photo documentation and locus map, and I apologize that those were not received by DEP. I know they were received by the commission, and I reattached them to this submission. And as discussed, we provided that documentation in addition to having the informal site walk with the commissioners. The third comment was to show profile plan views of the building regards to the 100-year flood elevation, which we've done. And they noted compliance with the general performance standard for bordering land subject to flooding. That documentation was provided in my original project narrative that was submitted, dated March 28th. I'll just go through that briefly. The first requirement is that compensatory flood storage volume shall be provided unless the issuing authority, in their judgment that the loss will not contribute incrementally to an increase in storage. Basically, the project proposes only minor grade changes to the site to direct stormwater from the impervious areas to the infiltration basin. The basin will actually remove material from the flood zone, provide additional storage. But in the engineer's opinion, the columns, the building will be elevated above the flood, and the columns will be a de minimis contributor to flood storage decrease, and that they did not feel that additional compensatory storage was necessary. The second standard is that work within the flood zone shall not restrict flows as to cause an increase in flood stage or velocity. Again, with the minimal change in grades, actually decrease in grades overall with the stormwater basin combined with the infiltration basin. They did not feel that there'll be a restriction of flow or increase in flood stage or velocity. The third standard is work in the portions of bordering land subject to flooding found to be significant to the protection of wildlife habitat shall not impair its capacity to provide important vernal pool important wildlife habitat functions, and there be no adverse effects on vernal pools. First of all, there's no vernal pools in the project footprint or in the vicinity. And also the standards say that it would need to be 5,000 square feet or greater of bordering land subject to flooding found to provide that important wildlife habitat. In this project, the area within the project limits is approximately 13,100 square feet. Of that area, 9,300 square feet is currently in historically mowed lawn, which does not provide habitat, and 3,800 square feet of that footprint is wooded. So we're well below that 5,000 square feet in the wooded area that provides habitat, and it's therefore our opinion it's not deemed to impair capacity to provide wildlife habitat. And that's a brief description of the performance standards and our responses to DEP, as well as the project description. And I'll turn it over to the project engineers just for a quick overall description of the planning process and the proposed stormwater management. Thank you.
Thanks, Art. Hi, Lauren Frank with Woodard and Curran. I just want to say we looked at alternative locations for this building, but as Art mentioned, the entire existing wastewater plant is within the floodway. This building is a necessity to the plant because it's their new administration building, and where their current employees sit has air quality issues. They sit in a location where there's processes all around them, specifically the dewatering process of their sludge, which is, eroding all their equipment. And I think it was the Department of Health actually deemed it unsafe for them to continue to be in there. So this building is very much necessary for quality of the employees. So we looked at a location towards the back of the facility, and again is also within the floodway. We also looked at 2 locations up along Neck Road. So this is our preferred location due to, the access road, the entrance of the plant, for security reasons, so that they can see who's coming in and out of the plant. If it was in the back of the plant, they wouldn't have that visibility. And obviously, if it was up the road, they wouldn't have any visibility. Also, this building is going to contain a lab where they do their sampling. So this is the best location for them that's closest to their sampling points. So again, if it was up the road, they would have to get in their vehicle, go collect the samples and take them back. So this is the most convenient spot for that. Again, Art mentioned the finished floor elevation is 3 feet above the flood, 100-year flood. And then there is, in the profile showed an elevator and an elevator shaft. This is a pitless elevator. And the vestibule outside the elevator is going to be designed to take any water should there be a flood. Alicia, do you have anything to add on the stormwater design?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. So I'm Alicia Mayer. I'm a project engineer at Woodard and Curran, here to just talk about the stormwater management system in general. So it was designed to comply with the Mass Stormwater Handbook, 10 stormwater standards for new development. Peak rates and runoff volumes have been reduced from pre to post development conditions. We've provided drawdown calculations demonstrating that the infiltration basin will drain within 72 hours. The provided recharge volume and water quality volumes provided have exceeded the calculated required volumes. And an 80% TSS removal rate is provided with the infiltration basin. As Art mentioned, the best management practices proposed include a pea gravel diaphragm for pretreatment and an infiltration basin. And roof runoff will be directed to the infiltration basin, and the proposed impervious area will be pretreated with the pea gravel diaphragm and be directed to the infiltration basin. And all of these calculations are provided within the stormwater report. along with the stamped stormwater checklist. And the BMPs are depicted on the site plan that you see up on the screen. And with that, I will direct it back to Art. Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. I'd be glad to, we'd all be glad to take any questions the committee may have at this point.
Any questions from the commission?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
So I was one of the individuals on the informal visit in January. I think, Carl, you were with me?
Was also, yes.
Yeah. And I did read your, I'm sorry, I don't know who wrote the narrative that I received today. Arthur, or maybe you did, but I did read the narrative. And I just want to clarify that we were there only as on an informal basis, not to do a true site visit in the sense of evaluating pre-supplied plans. And so it was extremely informal, but we did see the channel, and just want to clarify that a little bit. But I did have a specific question. And I don't have your document up in front of me. But you referenced that you did 3 visits and you did not see any evidence of flow.
Correct.
Okay. So over what time span did you do those visits?
It was actually 4. It was actually 4 visits. And let's see, let me go to my documentation. So January 5th of this year, January 6th, February 9th, and March 11th. And some of these were by the facility operators themselves. Basically, I told them where the pictures needed to be taken, and they provided the photos. So
okay.
They were all taken in the same general locations at the low points within the utility corridor that's existing that we walked through. And then at the culvert outlet right here, this is the culvert outlet from the access driveway.
Yeah, I believe we were back up on the driveway looking down, if I recall.
Yep. There's the better view of the culvert and the driveways up there. Yep.
So you've done these, you did the visual, you have the visual information over about 3 months' time.
Right.
Where the ground would have been, I don't know if completely frozen, but frozen at some points. Is it typical, or would it be more typical that you would do observations like this over, let's say, a 12-month period or multiple growing season? And did you also do any corings to uncover what type of gravel base might be underneath, or was there a hydric soil layer somewhere? So I'm asking, what else did you do beyond the visuals over the X period of time that you already presented?
Yeah, so this is within a wetland area. So I mean, this is the vicinity of this swale or depression is flagged as a wetland and shown on the plan. So we did do soil and vegetation analysis, and that's described in our report with the data forms. So this is a wetland. It's just that there's no evidence of a channel within here. I mean, this mowed area in here, you're looking at the lowest point of that swale. All of these pictures are at the lowest point of that depression. And there's literally no channel. There's no stream, there's no banks. There is a wetland, but there's just no evidence of a stream. So I mean, there's nothing the rule of thumb is a stream has to be something when you walk across it, you trip over the banks. I mean, there's no defined area that conveys or confines the flow of water. This again just appears to be just a kind of a floodway relief feature. Again, this whole area is under is within the 100-year flood, and the Westfield River wraps, it's a bend in the Westfield River that wraps around this site. And it just appears that this is just a feature of some, extreme flood event and there's just no stream. I mean, possibly these USGS maps are updated periodically by aerial photograph and typically in the spring. So there must have been, it must have been a flood event at some point or a partial flood event when they did the flyover and they saw some water in this area and mapped it because otherwise than that, there is really no evidence of a stream here at all.
Thank you. And just one more question, please. You said there's two basins, infiltration and storm. I saw one basin next to the building. That's the infiltration, am I missing the other basin?
No, there's just one infiltration basin to the east of the building.
Okay.
And then she has some gravel. I think this is the pea gravel you were talking about, Alicia.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's a pea gravel diaphragm just to the east of the impervious area to pre-treat it prior to the basin.
Okay. All right. So the slope basin that you're going to put in to the east of the building, that's the infiltration one. All right. West. I'm sorry, west. So that is that's the infiltration basin.
Correct.
Okay. So you're not putting a standpipe in there, are you? I didn't see anything there, but.
No, there is no.
Okay, so just natural percolation.
Correct.
Okay. And what's the groundwater that area as a point of reference?
So groundwater was found. There were 2 test pits performed on site. Groundwater was found at approximate elevation 113.5. However, just to be conservative, we assumed groundwater to be at elevation 119, which is where the wetland flags are delineated. So there's approximately a 3-foot separation to the assumed groundwater. And we've provided a mounding analysis that demonstrates that there's no adverse impacts to the basin or surrounding areas.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Other questions from the commission?
Yes, if I could, David.
Yes.
And I don't care who throws an answer back to me, but this is pretty basic, and I apologize. I've never been to this to Neck Road. Is this a wastewater pump station? Is that what we're talking about?
It's the wastewater treatment plant. So
they actually do treatment there.
Yes.
You mentioned when you were talking about wildlife habitat, and maybe I'm thinking maybe we could improve that. And again, I've not been there, but do we have a vast area that's cut? Is there a real pretty lawn out here in the area that perhaps we should think about shrinking down?
The lawn is primarily within the facility, within the fenced facility, and just around the perimeter, so they can maintain the facility. And there's also existing overhead utilities that come right through here, and there's a mowed maintained corridor under that happens to fall within this proposed building footprint. So that's why there's a portion of this footprint is existing lawn, and they're proposing to reroute those overhead lines and poles around the perimeter of the new building. So most of the overall property is wooded. I mean, it's just really the facility and just outside the fence and the utility corridor that's lawn. So there really isn't a lot of area they could reclaim out there.
It is not grandiose. Is that what you're saying?
No, and like I say, we've really minimized, the limit of work to really right just around the building, the area they need to just construct it, and the rest of it out there is going to remain wooded.
I see. Art, you mentioned that the profile drawing of the building was created after DEP comments. Was it DEP comments that made you guys want to put this on pilings?
No, they already proposed it, and it was described in the engineer's stormwater memo. But there just wasn't an elevation provided, so that's why we came back with this pretty shot to show the.
Yeah, it is. It is a pretty drawing. Yeah.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, we already had the building footprint, and we have preliminary drawings. We just didn't have a drawing that showed the profile, but we had it all. We had the elevations all worked out. We just didn't have the drawing.
Yes. And as a result of raising the building, did I understand Art to say that you would not need to take comp storage into consideration on this project? Is that what? Art, did you tell me that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I won't speak for Lauren, but I believe this is considered a de minimis change in storage, and it's at the commission's discretion to approve those impacts. And basically it says compensatory storage shall be provided for all flood storage volume that will be lost as a result of a proposed project when, in the judgment of the issuing authority, said loss will cause an increase or will contribute incrementally to an increase in the horizontal extent and level of floodwaters during peak flows. That's a standard number 1 for bordering land subject to flooding. And I'll defer to Lauren, but I believe the engineers feel that this is a de minimis or negligible impact.
Yeah, I'll just repeat that vestibule is going to be designed to take on water in a flood for the elevator.
The vestibule?
Yeah, you see the drawing that's posted. So yeah, there's an elevator and a vestibule for the elevator, and that's going to be designed to take on water in a flood. And there is no pit for the elevator.
Okay, thank you.
Could I add a question, please, to Tom's? What about your piers? How much compensatory storage are each one of them going to need? They're not floodable.
Well, again, I believe the engineers feel this is, a de minimis increase, so no significant change in flood storage. In terms of the overall.
Could you back that up with some numbers, Art? Can you show that to us?
I cannot right now. I don't provide that information.
Yeah. That would be useful.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah, how many columns are there going to be?
Lauren, could you answer that?
I can't, unfortunately, because I'm not the structural.
Oh, no. 14 it says, I believe, right there. 14.
So we don't, do you know the diameter of those or not?
I don't, unfortunately, but we can follow up. We can follow up with our structural engineer.
Thank you.
Yes. I mean, that is, comp storage is a concern for us. We just went through that with a tobacco barn. So I think we need to be consistent with projects.
And with Friendly's posts.
Right.
And with everybody else down in the floodplain.
Right.
And-
So we're pretty consistent that you'll have to get some compensatory storage in the proper area.
So if I could, they are lowering the overall grades of the site because of the infiltration basin, and we can provide the I don't know if we have the actual increase in storage. Do we have that, Alicia or Lauren? How much the
Yes, so the basin provides about 1,300 cubic feet of additional volume. So the only thing with providing compensatory storage, as was stated earlier on during this hearing, on a foot-by-foot basis, that wouldn't be possible with the columns anyways, but we can certainly be sure to provide the volume that is being quote unquote filled with these columns if needed. And I think that we would just ask that providing this analysis be a condition of approval potentially.
So I'd like to respond to Alicia. So why can't you provide compensatory storage plus or minus 1 foot of the 100-year flood?
if I could just jump in briefly, there's nowhere on this site they could provide the actual foot for foot because the entire site is within bordering land subject to flooding.
But what about off-site?
I guess we could look at that, but
I mean, we have people on the other side of the river who have compensatory storage on your side of the river. As long as it follows, the rules that are laid out by DEP, plus or minus the foot.
Yeah.
And I'm not a PE, and I can't go much further than that. But I give you, and that's absolutely true. Matter of fact, I think one of those sites is down Neck Road.
Sure,
Where there's compensatory storage for across the river.
Sure.
Okay, understood. Yes, so we can take a look at the surrounding areas topography. I was just under the impression that we were, our site is capped out at elevation 126, and as indicated, our building finished floor elevation is at 136. So we would have to find an area at elevation 136 and remove soil from that location.
within the same reach of the river. Yeah. Yeah, we can give that some thought.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any questions, Karen or Anna?
I think we just need to get some numbers for the volumes and see where we can do some comm storage if needed. And my only other comment was if you just for clarification, that the infiltration basin, you really can't use that for comm storage. I'm not sure if that was your goal.
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't meet the requirements, clearly.
No.
I'm just saying we are taking material off the site.
I have one. Karen, you all set?
Yes, thank you, Jim.
One question to Art. I was just curious, in the channel that we have been talking about earlier in our discussion, have any of those areas turned into vernal ponds this time of the year? I'm just curious.
No, my understanding is that area, the only water that area sees is when there's runoff from the actual plant. There's a discharge right near the driveway, near the culvert, and there's some water flow there, but other than that, there's no evidence of any standing water.
I mean, no, for vernal in particular, that would dry out and be seasonal. I mean, obviously they have access to sheet flow.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen anything in the vicinity of the site.
Okay,
Yeah,
when was it?
the
All
plant
right,
staff-
thank you.
Oh, sorry, the plant staff has also never seen water flow through there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I think we need to continue this. We need a site visit by the commission. So, the office can arrange that with you before our next meeting. And
Sure.
pending any other questions, I'll entertain a motion to continue.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have one. If they could maybe mark out in the field, I don't know, limit of work or something to give the commission an idea of the extent, I think that would be helpful.
Mhm.
And then if they could submit some information on how they're gonna, some schematic or something on how they're gonna make the elevator shaft floodable. Those are my only two comments.
All right.
And I would be curious to have trees marked, if there's any trees that are significantly providing shade that you guys plan to take away, chop down. Shade into the wetland area.
Mhm. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one more. I understand there's some proposed fencing in this area. Normally, we'd have, if somebody does have a fence, it's got to be in some way, shape, or form removable to accommodate a flood. So I think that's got to be investigated also.
We can, investigate that further at the site visit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I might just, Jim, just to put the thought in and again, look at it on the site, but you are dealing with a facility that requires some security here, so.
Right, aware of it. And there's an existing fence there also too.
Yeah, chain link, barbed wire and the whole thing, so this may not be practical here.
All right. Thank you, Alex. All right, entertain a motion to continue.
So moved.
Have a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Alex,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And
Thank you. Have a good night.
the office will be in contact with you for a site visit.
Thanks
Okay,
all.
great.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, item 5, enforcement, 0 Bayberry Lane. Karen,
Let's see. So we issued an enforcement order acknowledging the violation, asking them to come to tonight's meeting with a consultant. Also asked them to install erosion control. So I haven't been there to see if any of that was complied with. So hopefully someone's here representing them that can answer these questions.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Ryan Nelson from R. Levesque Associates. May I ask which property on Bayberry Lane? I think there's 2 of them. I just want to clarify which one we're talking about.
Yeah, this is 46R68. They're both listed as 0, so.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
this is the first one on the left, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Norenko?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Yep, I did take a look at the site. It had been cleared. I'm not sure exactly where it falls within the property. We've yet to survey it. The area had been stumped. It looks like silt fence was put up around the perimeter, but it was not entrenched. So I'll have to contact the owner about that and how to properly install that. I didn't see any erosion leaving the silt fence area though, because they had removed the stumps. The disturbance is recessed below existing grade, but with rainfall, it could be an issue, but I haven't seen any erosion escape into the wetlands yet. Our plan is to, we've been contracted to do a wetland delineation and then a survey to assess what impacts occurred. And then from there, we'll move forward with a restoration plan and figure out what's feasible or whether it's a notice of intent, because obviously the intent was to build a home there. So we just have to assess things and we're still working on that.
Ryan, I did go out there and see the erosion controls, and you're right, they aren't entrenched, but previously we've seen actually flow of water through there into the wetlands. So, please don't, dig bury the fence where the water's trying to flow through. You'll see that easily when you get out there.
Yeah, and I did notice it looked like maybe an old logging road, very old, that went through the site, and there was some very marginal. It's just barely, I think, constitutes an upgrading intermittent stream
Mhm.
that goes through the site, and obviously that was distorted, but I could see where it came into the site from the north off property.
Right.
So that's just something that we'll have to take a look at as well.
I mean, there's a great difference in the color of the soil in the areas close to the road, and then the area on the upper right area, you can see the stark difference in the dark soil near the road and the lighter soil upland in the back right of the property. So it's quite easily seen. So, well, thank you for taking this on. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Any other questions from the commission?
I have one issue just to bring up.
Sure.
We didn't specify the next step for them. So if they create a delineation first and then a restoration plan, we just didn't give them dates for that on the enforcement order. So I'm not sure if you want to give them a couple of weeks. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it's up to Ryan. I mean, it's his schedule, I guess. And this is something that's feasible within 2 weeks, or do you need more time?
We can probably get a delineation in kind of in existing conditions within 2 weeks. Yes.
Okay. And do the work on the plan after that?
Yeah. Any design work would take some more time after that. Yep.
So is that acceptable, Karen?
Oh, I think it's very doable. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that.
All right. So we'll work on the delineation within the next 2 weeks. Okay.
And Ryan, will that include putting this back into some kind of order plan, some kind of remediation?
As of now, I mean, eventually in the future, yes, there'd be some sort of restoration plan, but that's not the focus right now, I guess, until we assess what was disturbed.
Understood. That's back to Karen's point, is do we want to put a date on something like that? I mean, it's great. Obviously they're responsive. They went out and they hired a consultant like we asked them to. Dates are always good.
I feel we should have some dates. Also, but regarding a date, a question to the chair. David, when you went out there today, I'm confused. Were there straw bales?
No, just the fence.
Silt fence was up, or just the fence? So we still
around
need
the entire property. Yeah, a silt fence.
Okay,
But as
what
Ryan
do
said, it's
straw
not fenced.
bales need? Okay,
I
but
didn't
do
think
straw bales need to go in now? No.
I don't know. I mean,
We required it in the order.
we did. Okay. Then, Ryan needs to work that out. I mean, it's very uneven. They're going to have to do some digging to level out where the straw bales are going to go.
Is the
as
site,
Yes, what's
sorry,
that?
Mr. Chairman. Is the site stable?
No.
Nothing's moving, right?
I would
It's all
think
exposed.
Yeah.
it's fully stumped, very rough. It wasn't even rough graded. It's
Yeah.
pretty raw.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's got to be stabilized with some hay bales or mulch or something. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, I think when they redo the silt fence, they're going to have to, put in the, either the wattles or some straw bales, to anchor that and to protect it. But that's the first step. I think they got the fencing up anyway.
So you want to get till the next meeting on the 26th that we'll expect that to be done?
Well, I think, we can require that. I mean, it's going to need some, a lot of work to do that. It's a big property. It's a long fence. I think Ryan can work with the owner and work on the progress of doing that as he does his delineation.
Because we've already asked for that, correct?
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm sure Ryan will address it.
But I feel, to add, I really feel there should be a due date for that activity.
All right, so let's do in 2 weeks, the same day as we get the delineation.
Yeah, fully stabled with straw bales as needed, coir logs, whatever's got to be done.
Okay.
And then maybe 4 weeks for a remediation plan, 4 weeks from today.
Is that doable, Ryan?
We'll do our best. Yeah, we can shoot for that date.
Okay, so that's about May 10th about.
Karen, at this point, you'll send out a new letter. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, we'll give them updates, and you can always, if May 10th comes and goes and they're not ready, I mean, you can always work with that, if they're moving,
Okay.
That site is so disturbed, it's going to take them considerable work to figure out the delineation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, anything else on this particular project?
So I'd like to make a motion that the target date of April 26 is for a completion of site stabilization, hay bales, and any other technology that's needed to be added to the sill fence. Is that sufficient?
Oh, and the delineation.
And the delineation.
Okay. All right, do you have a second?
Sure, I'll second that.
Right, any further discussion?
Did you want May 10th as the restoration date?
Okay, I'll amend that and also add May 10th as the restoration date, the restoration plan date.
Gotcha. Yeah, plan.
Carl, you in agreement?
I agree with that, yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Bob?
Yes.
Jim?
Yep.
Lauren?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Thank you.
Hey, David, I was really happy to see note number 4, that the tree service that did this butchery has been contacted and actually has indicated a willingness to come and meet with us. That's wonderful if that happens, because for sure they're going to be back, in town at some point. And if they didn't understand it this time, maybe we can help them understand it.
All right, so they would like to come to the next meeting, Karen?
Yeah, she said she just wasn't available tonight with her attorney. She wanted to make sure she was covered. It's an issue where she's taken over her husband's business and she wants to make sure she's doing everything right.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll talk to them next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. We're talking about an enforcement order that was issued. Do we have to approve that at this end as a board, or do we already do that? We did it.
You already did it.
We already did that.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, item B, Zero Bayberry Lane. Again, this is up the road on the left-hand side from the one we just talked about. This has been partially cleared. So Mr. Shakov is here. Karen, you've seen the site, correct?
Yes, it is partially cleared within the buffer zone to a stream. I question there might be additional wetlands. We didn't walk the full property, but we issued just a letter acknowledging it, saying cease and desist, come to the meeting tonight. Mr. Shakov came in the office and spoke with me briefly. I encouraged him to acquire an environmental consultant, believing that the commission would require that tonight, and to think about installing erosion controls. So I think he's been trying to move in that direction, and we need to issue an enforcement order for all of these things.
Okay. Okay, first, Mr. Shakov, do you have anything to say to the commission?
Yes, I just want to mention the fact that I've been working with the conservation department from the beginning of my doing the work. Meredith, I don't know why she's not in office right now, but I spoke to her about this lot and she walked over with me on the lot before I did any work, and she told me that whatever I did right now was fine.
Well, unfortunately, she hasn't been with us since last December. So,
It was October 2021.
okay. Yeah, we have no, unfortunately, that was not brought before the commission while she was the agent. So basically, we have to start from scratch again. So, but thank you. So I entertain a motion on the enforcement order.
So moved.
Please read what we want to
Yep,
put in.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being lazy, aren't I? For lot number 46R-59 and 46R-60, make a motion that we issue an enforcement order and cite that the violation has been the cutting of trees and disturbing of soils in and near the wetlands. Thank you, Sam, for being here tonight. That's great of you. I guess that's kind of the gist of it, eh? Enforcement order, cease and desist.
Yes. Yeah, please read those into the record.
I don't know if Ryan wants to say something because he's working on this project too.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Sam, I'm still in the motion. I'm just being dumb about it. I want the enforcement order to inform the landowner that the commission is requiring him to hire an environmental consultant to prepare a delineation and a restoration plan, and that he start these procedures ASAP. So we're talking about a cease and desist. We're talking about installing erosion controls, silt fence, and straw bales around the perimeter of the disturbance. We're talking about hiring an environmental consultant to delineate and submit a plan to the commission within 2 weeks. And we're talking about a restoration completion of the growing of October 31st, 2022. Maybe I'll just add one more thing, that we'll ask for a remediation plan to be submitted within a 4-week time frame. That's a rather long motion, but that's it.
Okay. We have a second.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
What is the ultimate goal of the property? What is the owner trying to do?
I'm trying to build a house.
It's a housing lot, just like the other one. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, all in favor, Bob?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Now, Sam, I interrupted you. Do you still have a question for us?
Well, I had a couple of things to say that I already had the perk test done there.
Good.
And the witness that it's within 100 feet from the wetlands. Then I already have the septic design done. And the well people are ready to drill.
Okay. Well, you mentioned that you're working with Ryan Nelson too?
Yes.
All right. So
Yeah, Samuel, we'll talk about that. I would hold off on those items until we figure out where the wetlands are. I don't want you to go through time and money for something that's probably not viable in terms of location. So.
Okay.
Once we
Thank you, Ryan, for helping.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else from the commission concerning this particular project? All right. All right. So we voted on the enforcement order, correct, Colleen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Item 6, discussion. Looks like there isn't any. Item 7, other items.
I didn't do the minutes yet. They're not completed.
Okay, we won't do the minutes. Okay. All right, item 8, commission discussion. Regulations and procedures, we don't seem to have any. Item B, we would like a motion to express interest in the possibility of conserving this land on Russell Road. We've talked about it previously between city property and state property, basically at the bend of the road prior to where the turnpike crosses it. Again, the city planner has told us about this, and the city's interested in the property. So I'd like someone to make a motion to show that the commission is in fact interested in this property being saved by the city.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we express our interest in conserving the piece of property at 1237 Russell Road, which is 31R-6.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion?
Just that I think hopefully whoever leads this looks to the state. I would, I'm all for conserving it, but it seems so logical that our friends at the state would purchase this and add it to their inventory rather than the city. I mean, we're surrounded by state. I mean, the property seems to be surrounded by state stuff.
Well, the state owns one side of it and the city owns the other side of it. So it's not surrounded technically by the
I
state.
stand corrected.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got a bigger budget. If we can get them to buy it.
That's true.
Yeah.
But if you've ever stopped there and looked out at it's quite a nice area connecting, the corridor along the river, for wildlife.
Who maintains it now? The state must maintain it when it needs to be resurfaced or cut, or am I correct?
I don't know who owns it. There's private property signs around there right now.
But it's off of a state road, right?
It's off of Route 20.
Which is a state is that a state road?
I think out there. You know where the gas station is as you make that bend past the 4 Mile store?
I do.
It's on the other side of the road where there's a little paved parking area in there.
Yes, and who made? I would reckon the state built that little paved parking area, right?
I don't know. But
That's
if you
what I
stop
would
there and
hope.
look towards the river, you can see the wooded area
Yeah.
that we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we're giving the right message to the city council, and I'm sure somebody will do their homework on this.
Right. So do we have a second?
I made the second.
Who made the motion?
We're just waiting on the vote.
Okay.
Carl motion, Tom second.
All right. Thank you. All in favor, Bob?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. Well, thank you. And again, welcome to Anna. And
Welcome, Anna.
Welcome, Anna.
Thank you.
well, thank you very much.
Made it through your first week, right?
The first 2 days.
First 2 days.
Oh, just
2 days.
okay. Hang in
I've already
there.
been saying I just enjoy sitting there and not being bothered and doing whatever I want to do.
That's gonna change. That's gonna
Yeah, right.
change.
I'm enjoying it for now, though. Even then, I'll take the busy work. Just don't bother me.
Okay, item 9, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, Bob?
Yes.
Jim?
Yep.
Lauren?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. Again, thank you.